Hey guys, it's Matthew here once again, and I've got the video all about the Power Siphon Inquisitor Wander using Barrage for single target and Power Siphon as well as Vile Power Siphon for clear in its entirety. I did try out plenty of Kinetic Blast, but honestly, it just doesn't feel quite as chunky and clean and crisp as Power Siphon, so I did stick to Power Siphon full time for all of the clear, even though Kinetic Blast with Chain, GMP, Pierce, whatever you want, will in some cases just monster through things so much easier, so it's entirely up to you what you do there. But as far as a Wander is concerned, the Barrage plus Power Siphon combination of 14 projectiles, if you have the Helm enchant, ends up being incredibly strong and really good for single target DPS. Definitely something I can recommend that you look into, not necessarily with this character as it is an Inquisitor, it is a CI type Wander, so it is a bit off the wall, a little bit not traditional, but it is definitely something I can recommend as a wanding character. You can definitely look into some wanding these days. It's really not that bad, and it's not super gear intensive for damage wise at the very least. It's just if you're trying to maintain all of the really good health pool like I did with this one for CI while maintaining a bit of damage, then it's mostly your defensive gear that's going to have to start doing some serious work, because nothing about my offensive gear is very expensive. We're talking like 20C rings, amulets, like 20C wands, that sort of shit. But it's just I crafted all of my CI gear, the energy shield gear itself, and all of that stuff did end up coming together to be pretty stacked. Now, I think if you just went way more budget on this type of character, you could have maybe 1,500 less energy shield and still get by. You'd definitely just get top decked by metamorphs a lot more than I did, and I got top decked by metamorphs plenty. A lot of the time, you'd blow up metamorphs, and most content is pretty damn cruisy, pretty easy, but some of the times with a bad map mod or two and awakening level 8 on your Atlas, these metamorphs get just super fucking chunky, and they can one-shot you with many attacks, even at my level of energy shield, and I'm just not really sure there's any way to avoid that happening without playing a mega tank build and just not avoiding certain map mods, because they're just ridiculous, and map mods with the awakening levels incorporated make some pretty tough, dumb metamorphs when you just make whatever the hell you want while making the metamorphs. Overall though, wanding playstyle with shield charge has become quite nice, and the biggest drawback we were always worried about was the single target, but with Barrage Power Siphon we do have the single target, and it ends up being completely viable. However, at times you kind of want to be melee when not too sure you should be. At times you kind of want to be ranged, and it won't maximize your DPS because Barrage does have this sort of spray effect that will sometimes miss things, but for the most part just about every boss is face tankable and dies really quickly, quite a bit faster than my bleed character, but the bleed character had much more sort of defensive playstyle in that you just bleed the enemy once and then run around in circles if you really feel like it. But you can see that with the built-in Cull on Power Siphon, it's pretty handy to be able to finish off some of these metamorphs, and the 1-2 punch that I was talking about in the previous one still holds true, where you try and blow up the metamorph as soon as possible and then focus on the adds with your Vile Power Siphon, which is a really satisfying button to press, especially with the additional chain. Now these are some of the better metamorph fights that I encountered, but a lot of the times they would kind of live a little bit longer. You'd have to play plenty defensively, run around a bit, and avoid getting one shot. But if you've got the chance to stand still and get a bit of deeps in, most metamorphs, even at the tier 16 level, can die really quickly with Inquisitor. And then we've got some Guardians as well, like the Conquerors at the highest tier. I don't know what this one was, 14, 16, something like that. And you can still burn through these pretty quickly as well with this type of setup. And ultimately, I did end up taking down a tier or awakening level 7 awakener, and then a level 8, which I'll have right after the gear explanation for a full clip of wanding gameplay, and it went pretty smooth, I think. So as I already went a little bit over in the previous video, character is Organ Siphoner, etc. And it is a Inquisitor, and it's wearing, if you want to know for cosmetics, the new Revenant set, and then Ringmaster Weapon, which gives you a bit of a whipping stick. That's the only real big wand thing out there. I did end up changing my wand, which was, yeah, something like a 50, 20C, something like that, buy, and I have looked around. The real important stuff for a wand when you're stacking so much flat elemental damage like I am, so you're getting lots of little elemental damage here, there, everywhere, just like flat elemental. The real important thing is attack speed and crit. So the main stuff that you're looking for is attack speed, crit, and then maybe one little elemental here or there, and you can get wands like that for 5 chaos. I did come across a wand that I thought might be an upgrade for 5 chaos, but it was just shy of 1. And the perfect one will have a spare suffix for you to craft double damage while focused on, so that when you actually craft that onto your wand as well and then press the focus button, you get a 30% more damage multiplier, and a lot of the times you just burst things down so much harder than if you don't have that, because it ends up being a little bit RNG. So the character hasn't really changed much since the previous video. I just fine-tuned everything. You're looking for elemental damage as much as you can get everywhere. Circle of Fear isn't really necessary, it's just kind of a nice quality of life to fill out resists, as well as your Herald of Ice additional damage. And then I did finish crafting my boots by well, just imprinting them, regaling them, and then slamming them with exalts a couple of times. I could have made a much better version just by multi-modding, but I decided to be a little bit risky, and we got some flat energy shield in the end. But the main thing you're looking for there is Tailwind, just so you can go 10% faster, and it's not a deal breaker to not have these, it's just convenience at its finest if you want to go maximum fast and have the best possible energy shield build available. Everything else is just crafted with single dense fossil spam, so dense fossil, dense fossil, dense fossil, dense fossil. It's pretty easy to just slam a bunch of dense fossils until you get some good energy shield outcomes. It's just how easy it is to buy those dense fossils. Sometimes pretty easy, sometimes it gets a little annoying. And in total, I would think I used maybe about 70, 80 dense fossils for all of my gear. And then of course you have an Oxium, which carries a lot of your damage once you get it at level 79. So it's a big power spike once you put that on, because you do have 6 power charges. With the 20 quality of elemental damage, you're looking at 180 extra elemental damage, and that's pretty much going to be your passive tree's worth of damage scaling. So it's something you definitely should hold off reservation for on the character before you get an Oxium on as well. Besides that, I did chuck on a Cinder Swallow Flask, which is definitely going to be a lot of extra sustain in the really tough maps, because lots of monsters keep spawning in plenty of situations, Beyond and Influence and new stuff like that, and 3% energy shield whenever you kill things constantly tops you up. But we've also got some energy leech from Entiiiiiiry's Promise, as well as energy leech on the main 6 link, but you can also drop energy leech into your clear skill instead of, let's say, inspiration, and it will probably top you up quite often too. But the main link for Barrage in the end is Power Siphon, Barrage, energy leech, inspiration, LE damage, and damage on full life for the 6 link. If you've only got a 5 link, you are probably going to be taking out damage on full life, because it is convenient to have inspiration and have a lower mana cost on things, because we can spam indefinitely even without the mana leech mod from Oxium, just from our mana regen thanks to Inquisitor. Inquisitor gets a lot of mana regen and then a lot of life regen, and you can a lot of the time see that I'm regenning quite fiercely without even tacking, just something like 800 passive life regen or ES regen once you take Zealot's Oath. And as well as that, I did unspec little golem nodes, so I had these and used Lightning Golem as well as Stone Golem for a long time, but in the end game they do die a few times and it's just not that worth it, so I dropped those so that I could free up a few points to get what looks pretty dumb and inefficient. It's these 4 points, but it helped me fill out my resists and a little bit of energy shield, just so I could pick up double damage on focus instead of needing to get resists on my shield. So that was the goal with doing these 4 points, but you can do few other little customizations. You don't necessarily need spiritual aid, you don't necessarily need that. Really depends on how well your gear is filling out energy shield and resist and damage and all of that. And that's not my current final energy shield. I will just show you that real quick, since discipline does quite a lot as well. Currently I'm at 8.7k right here, and have full reservation on Wrath, Discipline, Precision at I think a pretty low level, level 1, and then Herald of Ice. And that is thanks to being able to grab these nodes over here and these nodes over here, not using any Enlightened Gems. So you could min-max a bit harder with an Enlightened Gem as well, since I'm currently wasting a Lightning Golem over here, since he's no longer being used. Besides that, I don't think there's too much else to mention since last time. The clear skill, like I said, Power Siphon, and this is your Val base. So even though this one's a Val as well, we're not actually pressing this Val button ever, because Barrage does cut its damage, and it doesn't feel very good to press this button, whereas this one has Chain, so it feels pretty good to press. And in the end, our path of building looks something like this. I think I've got 930,000 DPS before being adjusted for Barrage. Once you tick Barrage, your damage gets cut a lot, but it doesn't factor in the fact that you get a lot of damage from the additional projectiles. If you times that by 14 for each of your projectiles, you have something like 4.5, I think, million damage, but it also doesn't factor in our cut in attack speed, because for every projectile you get more attack time. So in the end we have something like 0.4 attack time fully buffed, I think, and that means that I'm probably sitting at something like 2 million DPS instead of 4 million, and that's not too bad on a Barrage Power Siphon Wander. At least you'll see in the Awakener fight it definitely holds up. And as well as that, I've also got a Frenzy with Curse on hit and Assassin's Mark that maintains my Frenzy charges throughout a fight and also curses things. So that's basically it for the character. I'm not sure I can recommend it unless you really know what you're doing, because putting together all the energy shield gear and all the flat lightning damage, cold damage, fire damage, as well as all the various damage pieces is a little bit tough to ask of someone that's new to this sort of stuff. You can probably make more of a life-based Pathfinder Wander if you're looking into still wanding action, or incorporate some of my older Wander builds into the sort of 2019 3.9 wanding action. The thing I really just want you guys to look into and think about is Power Siphon comboed with Barrage, because it is a pretty strong single target and it is something you can build around, and it's a nice power charge sustain as well. So I'll leave you guys with the Awakener level 8 Awakening kill. The first time I've ever done an Awakener level 8, and it's on this character, and it's also the first time it went this well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Oh, Lord, oh Lord. True. He called me a challenge. A real one. I don't know where to take it to start with, eh? Is it this way? Well, this doesn't feel good, not gonna lie.
The others found strength. They became reliant.
Okay. So I can't take it down that way now. Gotta kinda take it this way. But there's not a lot of room down here anymore. We have to actually bait it to start with. Please circle, please. Bro, please. Giga face tank. Yo, that seemed a bit harsh. Okay. Wait, was I not moving it? Am I now? I'm moving two of them now, which is kind of wrong. Let's see how it goes. Take it! Make a circle. Make a circle. Thank you. Why? Where? He? What? I don't know which way he chose to go and for what reason. Ah! What the fuck, dude? It started making me run the other way. Because I like clicked the wrong area or some shit, you know? The power! Bwah. Yo, is that good? Awaken Control D. Fucking deathless, fucking first try, fucking hardcore, solo self-found, literally found all of my gear myself viable. And what does this do? +1 monster level, 11 uses remaining, 30% increased effective modifiers on non-unique maps. A Control D, empowered, awakened, whatever, pretty good, and a Crown of the Inward Eye. Get the feeling it's worth nothing. But does it look cool? It looks something. Cool is highly debatable. Got my dumb face sticking out the bottom of it. That's supposed to happen? Yeah, I guess. Alright, and we put that back on real quick. But what's that? Awaken controlled destruction. What does that cost? We awaken a control a destruction. There's 22 results, 6x minimum. Question is, do they actually sell for that? Like, does someone go out of their way to spend 6 exalts for 5% more spell damage in the end? Level 6, 1 mirror, does basically nothing. Cool. 10 cast speed, I guess that's something.